The monkey. Okay, this is another one that people have been asking for. I'm a bit late here, but sorry, there were minds to be crafted and crash outs to be had. So The Monkey is the latest from director Osgood Perkins, who's got a pretty interesting catalog. He is a busy boy lately. His last movie, Longlegs, was one of the most hyped movies of 2024 with incredible marketing. Even he attributes the success of that movie to Neon's marketing, so you know it was good. I think the reactions were a bit mixed on that one for a lot of people. I think it has so many cool ideas and the interactive marketing for it was great. I was having a blast decoding all these different passcodes to get to crime scene photos and dossiers. I meant to make a video on all that back then, but life happened as it so often does, so we're doing The Monkey based on the short story by Stephen King instead. Which is totally so different in so many ways, even though both movies are quite silly at large points of it, but let's get into it, what I think, and how it differs from that short story. And it differs quite a bit from it. Basic premise for those unaware: as a boy, Hal Shelburne and his brother find a mysterious wind-up monkey that seems to bring about outrageous deaths when used, ultimately tearing apart his family. Then 25 years later, the killings start again. So tone was definitely the thing that people seemed to most comment on when it came to The Monkey. It's pretty damn absurd, and that's pretty damn intentional. I'm a pretty big fan of horror comedies. It's one of my favorite genres, but this is existing in like a special area where it's a childlike, goofy comedy so much of the time, rather than what you typically think of when you think horror comedy. Like, it's really maintaining so much of that signature Stephen King tone to the dialogue, but then it just gets silly. And again, that was intentional. Osgood said he specifically really wanted it to feel like a Stephen King movie, first and foremost, for better and for worse. Because, you know, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I do like that choice though. But I just feel like the beginning of this year, I've just been overwhelmed specifically with horror movies that almost nail it, but then they just don't fully hit, but they're still not bad, and this sadly kind of falls on that end. It's not bad by any means, and I'm sure if I'd been able to see this in a super packed crowd of people that were super into it, it would have been even better, but it just kind of left me wanting a bit more. It also falls to the tragic happenstance of the trailer showing entirely too much, which I think is like revamped in a worse way this year, especially with horror movies. Like, if you haven't seen the trailer for Drop, don't watch it. It makes the movie a little bit boring to watch. And while it doesn't all work for me, I do appreciate the commitment to the vision. Osgood Perkins has a very particular voice when it comes to making his movies, and I always appreciate that in creatives. Especially when you find out that this movie felt very personal to his own life and losses. If you didn't know, Osgood is the son of the late Anthony Perkins, who died in the early 90s. Then his mom was tragically one of the passengers on Flight 11 on 9/11, so pretty fucking tragic all around. And his father died as a closeted gay man, so it really feels like this idea of family secrets probably seeped into this as well. And I guess the absurdity of this movie is just his way of dealing with all that traumatic loss, openly saying that if he had made this movie when he was 29, it would probably be pretty sad, but at 51, it can just be funny. But I also think that level of absurdity is what took a lot of people out of the experience. It kind of feels like a nightmare, like, you know, when you're having a really weird nightmare and it terrifies you, but then you try to explain it to someone when you wake up and it just sounds absurd and a bit goofy? That's this movie. Now, I'm pretty sure there's not an evil monkey controlling your family's health and fate, but if there was, it would probably start by making sure you never got around to booking that doctor's appointment. And that's kind of where I was recently, putting off stuff like finding a reliable dentist, getting my prescriptions refilled, which is why I'm so glad I found today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment so you can get that care faster. From mental to dental, eye care to skincare, and so much more, ZocDoc gets you in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across nearly every specialty, so you can find the best one for you in your area. Literally any of the friends I asked about ZocDoc already had an experience using them to find a doctor or a dentist or any other kind of healthcare professional they needed. I've personally been having a nightmare trying to find a reliable dentist. It always takes forever to get an appointment. I've had some issues with getting canceled on last minute and not being able to rebook, ending up with a dentist I didn't like because I didn't have access to better reviews. With ZocDoc, I can see a bunch of verified reviews for any specialist I'm interested in, and when I choose the right one, it shows me the available appointments they have, so I can just pick the time that works best for me and instantly book a visit without needing to play phone tag, which also solves my other biggest issue. I travel a lot for work, which makes planning ahead for appointments almost impossible. But with ZocDoc, you can often get these appointments within 24 to 72 hours from booking, sometimes even same day. I know a lot of you have been putting off the dentist and getting your eyes checked since you moved out of the house. Let ZocDoc help you too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/AmandaTheJedi or click the link in the description down below to instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring. Now let's get back to the video. So let's dive in here first with the clear differences from the jump. The monkey design in this movie, I absolutely adore. It's very chilling, it really captures the emotions and fear it needs to. It's a bit larger than it seems it should be, which is unsettling, but they changed it from the original description of a monkey with cymbals, which is actually really important to the original short story because there's this constant like jang, 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 and the cymbals being so prominent in the text. They changed it to a monkey with a drum. And that wasn't for stylistic reasons. It's apparently because Disney owns the rights to that wind up monkeys with cymbals because of the monkey in Toy Story 3, and I just had no idea that you could copyright something like that. Like, that's literally based on a toy that existed decades before Toy Story 1 was even being thought about. But hey, if anyone's gonna find a weird loophole to have something copyright, it is gonna be Disney. So that's the reason that Osgood stated he was told by why they had to switch it up, but it conveniently also lets Neon sell an actual branded monkey. The drum works surprisingly well though, to the point that when I originally saw it, I didn't even clock it as being wrong. It's also accompanied by some fun circus music that really just drives home that ominous feeling. I like that they have it spin the drumstick in its hand first. It really just makes the whole thing feel that much more ritualistic. Say what you will, but the man knows how to make a stylistically pleasing film. Let me in now! And the movie doesn't make us wait a second to see the effects of this thing. Unlike the book that starts with the protagonist Hal and his family finding the monkey while cleaning out a relative's home, the movie starts with who we'll learn is Hal's father, a pilot covered in blood trying to leave the monkey at a pawn shop, triggering the release of a harpoon into the owner's stomach before it drags out his intestines as the stick finally drops. As long as one arm's up, it's waiting to pop off. But this immediately cuts to Adam Scott torching it with some exceedingly over-the-top dialogue, and that's when I knew I was in for something as bloody as it is goofy and stupid. Who's smiling now, you infernal son of a whore? They do keep Hal's narration though, which I think is what gives it most of its like Stephen King vibe, just, you know, slightly twisted for Perkins' own needs.
I don't know if every father passes some secret horror onto his kids, but mine sure did.
Another pretty big change from the book is that the brothers are now twins, so as an adult we have Theo James of White Lotus as Hal and his brother Bill, and they also vastly increase Bill's relevance to the story in the movie. As kids, there's a lot of immediate hostility between the two, full-on dominant and non-dominant energy, where Bill spends most of his time torturing Hal versus the standard sibling dynamic in the book where Bill's just 2 years older than Hal but's mostly pretty nice to him. So the movie's really setting up Bill as an antagonist early on, and I fully get why they went with that change because it lets them add animosity as a reason for Hal continuing to use the monkey. The animosity is so deep that he imagines dropping a bowling ball on Bill's head.
I hate you, Bill Shelbourne.
So the two find the monkey while going through the closet of their father's old stuff because they're obviously desperate for any kind of connection to a man they never got to know, which is another theme in the movie, and apparently torching the shit out of it did nothing. Perkins is really big on the idea of exploring how much of a hold parents have on their children, and you can see it here for sure. The mom is also way more prominent in the movie compared to the short story, where she's really just existing in these descriptions of Hal's past memories. This movie actually gives Tatiana Maslany a lot more to work with, and her character is a lot more vital to the plot. And they set the monkey reveal up perfectly. We got the creepy face, the fancy box that says like life instead of lifelike, and an inconspicuous while also ominous sticker that simply reads, "Turn the key and see what happens." Something that Hal feels super apprehensive about as Bill turns it, which gives it an even creepier smile as one arm raises and the drumstick spins and then nothing. It just stays in that upright position. And that's because the monkey chooses when it picks a victim. And as is fairly obvious from the fact that it's found itself into a box in their closet after being torched, this thing can just appear places because suddenly it's in their babysitter's car with them. Because for its first kill, the poor babysitter's making her exit at a hibachi restaurant, full decapitation. A very big departure from the book. The kills pretty much all are. In the book, they're pretty much all just like off-screen deaths, and definitely not this brutal. The movie really amplifies them to the extreme. So for example, in the book, the babysitter died in a shooting. But again, they immediately offset the fact that a woman just got decapitated at a restaurant with a priest acting like he's a high college kid who murdered the priest and has now found himself having to conduct a funeral.
It is what it is.
And then the monkey just keeps appearing places. First it's in their room, then it's in Hal's backpack. Hal, who's getting bullied by a gang of girls at school because of his brother, made only worse by this monkey appearing, before it spontaneously ends up on his bed again. So in his banana-covered rage, Hal really starts to wish for Bill to die and winds up that monkey, hoping it's something you can barter with. And I feel like that's why they changed the sibling dynamic, to give him a reason to be using it again. But in the short, it's way more haunting because this thing is just haunting out for Hal to use it, and then he's twisting it before he can even stop himself. But this time, the monkey does not wait to pick its victim. Bill gets home just in time to very tragically see his mother die from an aneurysm while Hal watches the monkey playing in horror. They went pretty intense with the aneurysm too. We got blood soaking out the eyes and ears and everything. No reason, no explanation, just chaos.
It's true what it says on the box. It's just like life.
In the book, she also dies very abruptly, but it's while at work, so no direct childhood trauma here. But this is the moment that Bill definitely starts to snap, like thinking that his mom is just playing dead at the funeral before being like, okay, you can keep going. But the funeral now includes their aunt and uncle, played by director Perkins himself, who are ready to pack the boys up and bring them to their home in Maine. But not before Hal chops up the monkey, revealing this strange blood-like oil inside, before tossing it all in a garbage truck before they take off. And things definitely aren't great in Maine. Bill won't even take off his suit.
If I take it off, then I'll have to put it back on as soon as there's another funeral.
And before they can even try and settle in and deal with everything, the monkey returns.
It's a bad magic killer monkey.
God, the dialogue is just so much. Actually, the book has a lot more wild dialogue of Hal just like imagining what the monkey would be saying or being entranced by what the monkey would be saying or might be infusing into his mind with the tone of the movie. I'm surprised they didn't actually give the monkey a wacky inner monologue, but I do think it was a much better choice to keep it silent and chilling as a creepy smiling thing. But the monkey return does lead to an interesting question. Will the monkey ever kill the person who turns the key? Which pushes Bill to try it out for himself, so there goes Uncle Chip.
I'm gonna try it. Don't
Trampled to death by horses, brutal and creative. So to get rid of it, they drop it down a well, and there it stayed for a while. Cut to 25 years later, where this time it's the aunt dying of mysterious circumstances. She falls into a box of fishing hooks, cleans her face with alcohol, and then tries to see why the gas isn't working on the stove by putting her nose to it, turning her into Ghost Rider before she runs into the for sale sign in her yard. That is not fair. That is too many painful steps to her death compared to everyone else. But whatever, that pretty much brings us to where the short would have actually started. Hal going to deal with her affairs, but also where the story really veers off. In the book, Hal's got a pretty good life. He's got a wife, 2 kids, one he gets along with more than the other. The movie flips it to him not being with the mother of his child and only seeing that kid on birthdays because he's worried about the people he gets close to dying. They also get rid of one of his kids from the story and really seem to just roll his attitude into Bill because a section of the short story is dedicated to Hal thinking about how much hostility he feels towards the other son, Dennis. And that hostility just keeps rising as the monkey pops back up and seeps its way back into Hal's mind. Very tense, but very different. So when we hit the present in the movie, Hal's actually going to pick up his son, Petey, for their yearly trip. Apparently his ex is now dating a weirdo evangelist who specifically writes books about fatherhood, played by Elijah Wood. Always fun to see him having fun. Literally starts with him energetically taking Hal's parental power away from him, because like that's just the thing you can do, I guess.
Parental energy transferred from you to me.
Not that Hal's a good father, like he doesn't even tell Petey that he has a twin brother, but still, he should be able to see him as long as Petey wants to. So before Hal's even aware that anything's happened to his aunt, they are having an estate sale of all her belongings, including the mysteriously reappeared monkey. Which is where Gen Z Joey Ramone here pops up, who I momentarily thought was Bill, but no, just another local weirdo with daddy issues. Which we know because the second he picks up the monkey, he gets this weird vision of his half-naked dad, and says the monkey reminds him of his dad for some reason, who also took off when he was young. Guess there's a trend of disappearing uniformed fathers here. We got a pilot, we got a cop. But I guess he didn't pick this thing up for himself because Ricky hears mom asks him if he's going to sell it to the nut who never leaves his house. So I'm guessing that's going to be Bill. Meaning that Bill has a very different life from the one he has in the short story where he's like a lawyer with a family and not super affected by the monkey at all. Now, even though Hal doesn't know that the monkey's back in action, that night he and Petey are at a motel. He has a nightmare where it's the monkey chopping up him instead. There are actually a lot of great nightmares in this. The next one is the mom having an aneurysm over his head when he's a child.
The most important thing for you to remember is try not to kill everybody around you.
But when Hal wakes up, the heat's all the way up, so he turns on the rattly AC. Then wanders outside because he got a call from Bill for the first time in 5 years, letting him know that Aunt Ida is dead.
The nice young policewoman I spoke to used the phrase freak accident.
So Bill is basically forcing Hal to go deal with the house and see if he can find the damn monkey and I guess hold on to it for the rest of his life so no one else can use it? Because it seems that someone probably is. This ratty air conditioner falls off the motel, narrowly misses Hal, and instead shock charges the pool so a woman literally explodes when diving in. At midnight for some reason.
Wait.
Great death though, 10 out of 10. They definitely drive home the idea that the monkey is setting off this like chain reaction in the movie more so than it feels in the book, and I dig it. Either way, he is freaked the fuck out and makes them bail.
We gotta mate like eggs and scramble!
It's funny, these are all lines that I could imagine seeing in a Stephen King novel, but they're not in this one. So while Hal wants to take Petey home to keep him safe, he's so hungry for any connection to that side of his family that he insists on going to Aunt Ida's. I do like that they managed to get in some of that like janging sound in here that's so present in the short story. Like it's just a fake out of Petey coming back to the room, but hey, work with what you can if you think Disney's gonna be on your ass. Going to Aunt Ida's does of course lead Petey to realize that Hal lied about being an only child, and even weirder that it's a twin. So yeah, a bit of hostility between the two here.
He flat out lied to my face. But it's cool.
And when they get to Aunt Ida's, Hal finds out that there's actually been a series of freak deaths since hers. And this flirty, pale real estate agent is about to be the latest victim of that damn monkey. Literally a shotgun falling from behind a door just explodes her to bits.
Everything okay there?
Yeah, everything's fine.
At least she got to go fast, though. This is also where the death cheerleaders are introduced, which just on the movie level is a bunch of locals getting voyeuristically into a weird true crime phenomenon in their town. Very much fits the absurd tone.
They're bringing the body out!
But also definitely feels like it could be making a little bit of a commentary on us too, or just people who turn up to horror movies for the bloodbath and the spectacle of the kills. Catching that last Evil Dead movie at South by Southwest definitely felt like being these cheerleaders. Either way, Hal clearly realizes that the monkey is gone, and the Bill's probably already in town, which means that he specifically wanted Hal to be there, especially when you add in that the kid who found the monkey was apparently supposed to be selling it to a weird shut-in.
Bill, are you living in town?
And yeah, Hal almost immediately finds him listed as Mrs. Monkey, confirming that Bill already has the monkey and he's the one doing all this shit. Wow, the reverse glow up on these two. Like, why does Bill look like the good doctor in this shot? So, what is Bill's motivation? We won't even have to wait to find out. As they drop the monkey into the well, he realizes that Hal must have been the one that turned the key that led to their mother's death. So he almost immediately tried to go back to get the monkey, but it was already gone, leaving behind its key. And he's just been waiting. Until suddenly, years later, the monkey was everywhere, signs all over, until that kid finally finds it. I have no idea how the aunt died without anyone using the monkey, but sure. I know in the short story she does die before the monkey officially reappears, but it was just kind of like a stroke, so it could have been natural causes. But you do get the idea in the book that the monkey can kind of act to its own devices, so the movie could just be following that to the extreme. That the monkey can maybe sometimes act on its own at times once it infects a family. Or hey, for all those times someone spins it and nothing happens, it's just kind of like banking those somewhere. But yeah, Bill gets weird about it. It's a whole religion to him. It's goofy as hell, especially since he refitted his childhood funeral suit with his childhood flame shirt. I don't care if he does have a murder monkey. How am I supposed to be scared of this person? And he spends his days begging and praying for this thing to kill Hal, taking out a chunk of the town in the process. And at times even further away than that, like it kills Hal's boss, basically saying, I may be a monkey, but I sure as shit ain't dancing for you. Here's me killing a person directly related to the person you want dead, just to spite you. So when Hal learned all those years ago that this thing doesn't take requests, Bill refuses to accept. So Bill's grand plan currently is to force Hal to bring Petey to him to turn the key, that it might be more likely to kill Hal if it's his son doing it. They try to do a little generational trauma thing here, that Hal stays away from Petey so he doesn't pass on the dark things he got from his dad to him. Here it's a literal evil monkey, but he did actually create the same kind of harm by barely being in his life. But that's when Timu Ramon, aka Ricky, shows up pretending to be a cop with his dad's old uniform. Because the monkey seems to be able to infect anyone that really comes into contact with it. Ricky's now obsessed with it because, again, it reminds him of his papa. For some reason. And he is very convincing as a man of the law.
Open up! It's the motherfucking police!
Hal still opens the door though, so Ricky takes them to Bill, thinking, oh, he'll care enough about his family to give me the monkey, so he sends Petey in.
You've been a goddamn deadbeat dad because of a toy monkey? What the fuck?
Get me the monkey, or I swear I'm gonna shoot you both like a lot of times.
Dude, Ricky's goofy as hell. So Petey heads in, narrowly avoiding some traps before setting one off that seems to get stuck, a bowling ball trap. Or the monkey's planning a future kill based on something Hal wished for all those years ago. And And something's definitely gonna happen once he gets Petey to turn the key, the one thing his dad specifically told him not to do. Bet that hornet's nest is about to get a lot less fun. Hornet's nests are never fun, Amanda, what the fuck? So here's the chain reaction. Ricky almost blows off his own head trying to scratch it with a gun, which pops a hole in the windshield and the hornet's nest, leaving perfect access for them to zoom in. And I guess the monkey really didn't want to run the risk of ending up with Ricky again because those hornets fly right into his mouth and start eating him from the inside. Tasty. And realizing that Hal isn't the one that died, Bill frantically tries to set it off again, but instead of turning the key, he just tries to force the drumstick to strike, which the monkey does not like. Literally goes on a murder overdrive as a plane crashes out of the sky. We got bodies dropping with every strike, things coming through the roof. The one time I really expected a very absurd comment, once Hal gets in the room, it just goes instantly into family feel-good learning time, which is fine.
Everybody dies, and that's life. I'm sorry your mom died. She was my mom too. Never thought about it like that.
Wow, Bill learns empathy. They make sure to end it extra goofy though with Bill's signature psych hair slick. But I guess because Bill didn't technically turn the key, he's fair game. Literally gets his head bowling balled off from a cannon. Yeah, everything in this is a callback. Literally the same bowling ball that Hal imagined dropping on his head as a kid. So after the excitement, Petey and Hal make their way out of town, a town that is now pretty much half dead. The monkey's gone on a massive killing spree, basically starting a mini apocalypse. Baby's on fire, fucking Death walks by looking confused on a horse, which also a callback to earlier in the movie.
I beheld a pale horse, and on it was a pale rider, and the rider's name was, Death.
So I guess Hal's ready to stop running from death. Literally. But also figuratively, the two decide to keep the monkey. Again, I think a little allegory of like, hey, this is this thing that I've passed down, but we accept it and handle it together. Super different from the book where while at the hotel trying to settle Aunt Ida's stuff and coming across the monkey, leading Hal to get increasingly more and more agitated as his kids keep coming into contact with it, where he then wakes up to the monkey on a desk staring at him when he had locked it in a suitcase the night before and then locked that key in a safe, and the key is still in the safe. And the desk is just where the wife put it because apparently he was clutching it in his sleep. The monkey fucking crawled into bed with him, the audacity. So while Hal's alone with Petey, who also feels very weird about the monkey, like it's calling out to him to turn the key, like it wants something from him, Hal decides to weigh it down in a bag and drop it into a lake that goes 100 feet deep. It almost kills Petey before this manages to happen though. Like Hal sees a car going at him and he instinctively puts his hands between the cymbals, and he said he felt a palpable rage in the air after the cymbals hit his hand. The monkey did not enjoy being thwarted in his murder, and that power just continues as he goes to drop it in the lake. Like the weather starts to change, it destroys the boat. Like even after it's dropped, it's like it's trying to take Hal down with him, but Hal still makes it to shore. And for now, he can feel that they're safe from the monkey until maybe one day a father and his son fish it up from the depths, but then it'll be their problem, and there's no use worrying now when he has family to take care of. So a pretty happy ending overall for the short story. Meanwhile, in the movie, the final shot is all those cheerleaders on the bus cheering, getting decapitated by a semi. Because we're all gonna face death someday, as much as we may enjoy being voyeurs in its horrors. Or it's just absurd and funny, whichever way you want to take it. As much as you can, and I did find deeper symbolism with death's literal appearance, it really was just an added layer to the absurdity for Perkins. So that's The Monkey. The book definitely has some other changes, like the second person to die is actually Bill's friend getting hit by a car. It's then like 2 years later before it takes the mom after randomly reappearing on their shelf, but the general vibe is all still there. But yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking of The Monkey down below. Did you like this one? Did you not like it? Did you have like a really fun theater experience with it? Let me know down below. But thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.